So, good day, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here today and to have a chance to share with you one of the most important contribution to curriculum studies. I know that when we hear the word curriculum, the first thing that comes into our mind when we say curriculum, it is a document, it is a plan, or perhaps it is a syllabus. But today I want us to go beyond that limited view and explore the model that changes how we understand the curriculum itself. So, my first topic today, or the second to the last topic about models, is all about Stenhouse curriculum model. So Stenhouse curriculum model was developed by Lawrence Stenhouse in 1970s. So this model is not just another way of writing curriculum, but it is a way of thinking about the curriculum. So this model asks us to look at the curriculum not just a product, not just a list of objectives, but we need to look the curriculum as a living process that happens in our classroom every single day. So why it is important that we need to look our curriculum as a living process? Because education is not about filling up notebooks with content. It is about shaping our students' experiences, guiding them, and creating opportunities for exploration and growth. So according to this model, according to Stenhouse model, he recognized that no two classrooms are the same. So iba-iba ang classroom natin, iba ang learning sa inside ka classroom kang ibang students, iba man sa ibang students. So no two groups of learners are the same also. So iba-iba man ang students natin, may mga dasig mag-catch up na students, may dyan man nga hina gawa. And therefore, curriculum should not be treated as something frozen and rigid. So let me briefly introduce to you first the man behind this model. So his name is Lawrence Stenhouse. He was a British educator, researcher, and thinker. He was very much influenced by progressive ideas in education. He believed that teaching should not just be delivering knowledge, but also it's all about questioning, experimenting, and improving practice. So according kay Lawrence Stenhouse, teachers are not just passive workers nga nagasunod lang kita sa mga policy makers or mga curriculum planners. Instead, we teachers should be professionals. We are capable of making decisions and contributing to the improvement of education. So with this kind of view of a teacher as an intellectual and researcher is a central of this curriculum model. So murang focus gid ni Lawrence Stenhouse no to this curriculum. As teacher, we are intellectual and a researcher. So let us dive into the heart of this model. So Stenhouse's most famous contribution in his idea that curriculum should be seen as a process, not as a product. So what does it mean when we say curriculum should be seen as a process, not as a product? So what does it mean? So in traditional process model, curriculum is designed like a recipe. Ginasunod natin kung ano di dyan sa recipe nga ra, sa curriculum nga ra, ano nakabutang di dyan, ano makinanglan natin sundon. So you set specific objectives, you set content, you plan activities, and you measure the outcomes. So those curriculum are neat, orderly, and predictable. But according sa Stenhouse model, so Lawrence Stenhouse argued that real teaching and learning should not happen that way. So classrooms are not like factories no nga dapat sundon natin tanan, or learners are not just machines. So learning is unpredictable. So sometimes lesson can go differently than planned. Bagat natin ra gani plano, wala na include ra sa aton nga lesson plan, kaso naabay natin ka-discuss sometimes. Or sometimes, student ask questions that our discussion might bring into the new direction. Or sometimes even mga unexpected experiences nga siya can create most powerful learning moment. So instead of treating curriculum as rigid nga plan or product na dapat sundon gid natin, Stenhouse said that we should treat it as a process, something that unfolds dynamically, guided by the principle, but always open dapat kita sa change. So under sa Lawrence Stenhouse, there are three main aspects of this curriculum. The first aspect is curriculum as intention, curriculum as reality, and curriculum as a outcome. So let's discuss ano bala ang curriculum as intention. When we say intention, there is a may specific goals gid, ideas, and values behind the curriculum. For example, if the teacher or may isang ka-teacher says like, I want my student to develop critical thinking. So that is his intention, his or her intention nga after the class dapat ara mag-critical thinking or dapat may critical thinking skills nga ma-learn ang mga students. So that is curriculum as an intention. So what is curriculum as a reality? So this is actually happens in the classroom. We all know that sometimes what is written sa atin nga lesson plan does not exactly happen sa practice natin sa inside the classroom. So student might ask unexpected questions, that there may be interruption, or ang atin nga activity lawid matapos. Because of that, got change kis ang atin nga flow kang atin nga lesson plan. This live classroom experience or the curriculum in reality or amo gid siya na nagatabo sa tuod. And lastly is curriculum as an outcome. So when say curriculum as an outcome, it is all about what learners actually gained at the end of discussion. Did they just memorize the facts? Gin-memorize ng balananda? Or naka-develop sa naka-understanding values and skills? Sometimes the outcomes may differ different from the original intention, and sometimes it is not necessary or bad thing nga nag-iba atin nga outcome no sa atin nga na plano or sa lesson plan natin. So it means student discover new ideas or develop ways that we didn't even expect. So what is the role of teacher with this? So one of the most radical and inspiring parts of this Stenhouse model is the view of a teacher. In traditional models, the teacher is often seen as someone who simply carries out the curriculum like what the developers and policymakers have written. So malang gid ra mostly mga traditional before kung ano ginsulat dira ka mga teacher, ka mga curriculum makers, kung ano ginsulat ka mga developers, amo gid ra ginasunod natin. But according to this model, according sa Stenhouse model, teachers are not just a mere implementer, but we are researcher. So what does it mean when we say teacher is a researcher? So it means teachers should study their own classroom, observe what works and what does not, and we can make adjustment based kung ano ang students natin, ano kadasig mag-learn ang students natin. So teachers should experiment, try new methods, and reflect on their effectiveness. So teachers should be knowledge creators, not just knowledge transmitters. In other words, Stenhouse empowered teachers to be professionally autonomy. He trusted teachers to make wise decision, and dapat aram kita mag-adapt kung ano pala nga ways ang fit sa atin nga learners. So the another key of this Stenhouse model is what we call flexibility. Dapat flexible kita, kaya natin mag-adjust. So Stenhouse curriculum is not just a fixed script. Instead, it is more like a framework that gives teachers room for maneuver. Aram kita dapat mag-drive, kung diin kita paadto, anong pwede natin agyan. So imagine two teachers with the same lesson plan. Paano kung may dalawa ka teachers, same lang man lesson plan da. Tapos ang sara nagpa-debate tanatana, ang sara nagpa-role play tanatana. So pwede man rin depending kung diin ang fit on the learners. So both are valid under the Stenhouse model as long as they are guided by the same educational values. So this flexibility makes the curriculum more humane and responsive rather than mechanical nga gasunod lang kita sa mga ginubra ka mga policy makers or mga kung sino dyan nag-create kang curriculum natin. Also, Stenhouse model emphasized that learning should be humanistic and inquiry-based. So ano ba lang humanistic and inquiry-based? When you say humanistic, this means it values the learner as a person, their individuality, their needs, their feelings, and their context. And when you say inquiry-based, learners should be actively asking question. Dapat ka mangkot gito na sanda, ga-explore sanda, ga-discover sanda kang knowledge nanda. Not just receiving the knowledge positively. So mo dapat ranuraan sa nagapamati, dapat they tend to interact also, join also, discover also. For example, if we're going to tell students that pollution is bad, so as teacher, we can guide them or we can give them activity like we can send them sa community, like they can interview people sa community nanda, interview locals, and maybe they can come up with possible solution. This process not only teaches the students about developing skills, but also it can develop values and engagement. So, overall, Lawrence Stenhouse curriculum model transformed the way we think about education. Instead that we follow or view curriculum as rigid plan or product na dapat i-follow natin or sundon natin, this model teaches us to see it as a process. It is a living process, evolving experience that unfolds in our classroom. So he placed great trust in us teachers, seeing them as researchers who can shape and improve education. He emphasized flexibility, inquiry-based, humanistic learning, making education more responsive to the needs of learners. Yes, there may be challenges in applying this model, especially in a rigid and standardized system. But the vision of Stenhouse continue to inspire educators today and remind us that teaching is not just about following the rules, but also creating meaningful and learning experience to our student or learners. So that is all about Lawrence Stenhouse. So the next model is the product and the process model, or the product versus process model. So this is the last model that we're going to discuss today. So the product and process model, when we talk about education, one of the most important questions we ask is, how should teaching and learning be planned and organized? Paano ba dapat i-planuhon ang ating teaching? Paano ba kita mag-teach? Or paano natin ipa-learn ang student? So to answer this, scholars and educators have developed different models of curriculum which we've discussed earlier. So for the last curriculum that we're going to discuss, we're going to focus to these two, the product model and the process model of curriculum. So these two models represent two different ways of thinking about the curriculum. First, the product model looks at the curriculum like a blueprint or recipe na dapat i-follow gid natin. We designed to achieve a specific objectives and measurable outcomes nga we need to follow inside the classroom. And the process model, on the other hand, treats curriculum as something as living, evolving, and shaped by what happens in the classroom. So before we discuss deeper, let's discuss the background of this curriculum or this model. To begin with, let us understand why these two models exist. Historically, curriculum system wanted control and predictability. So, magiging na gusto natin maman-anday natin kung ano ang outcome, ano ang ma-learn dapat ka students, ano dapat ang ma-achieve natin at the end of discussion. So, policymakers and curriculum designers needed a way to make sure that students in different schools would learn the same essential skills. This thing gave rise to product model, which became popular in the mid-20th century. So particularly through the work of Ralph Tyler. So later, educators and researchers like Lawrence Stenhouse and others questioned whether this approach was too rigid. They argued that teaching is not about reaching a fixed objectives, but about exploring, adapting, and we need to engage also sa atin nga learners. This gave rise to the process model, which emphasized inquiry, interaction, and flexibility. Amo ganit tanari kung ang product model fix kita na that we need to follow our objectives. Diya kara nag-agwa ang process model na dapat kina-emphasize man natin ang inquiry-based natin nga questioning, interaction with the students, and flexible kita dapat nga mag-change kung hindi ma-achieve or kung ano ang atin nga learners ang ma-learn ka atin nga learners. So in short, the product model is all about planning and result, while the process model is all about experience and growth. So the product model of curriculum. So first, let's examine the product model. So it is a curriculum that planned what students should learn, how should they learn it, and how success it will measured. Or how success will be measured. So that is product model. Ano bala dapat ang ma-learn kang estudyante? Ano bala dapat ang objectives natin? Kag paano bala natin siya ma-deliver? How successful it is. So there are main features of this model or the product model. First is we need to have a clear objectives, content selection, instructional methods, and assessment of outcomes. So, apat ang main features of this product model. First, we need to set our clear objectives. Learning start with precise goal. Dapat may goal kita. For example, after the end of this lesson, student will be able to know the meaning of history. So that is our goal, So that is having a clear objectives. Next main features of product model is we're going to select a content or content selection. Topics and materials are carefully chosen to meet the objectives. Gani may mga may mga materials that we're using para ma-meet lang natin ang atin nga objectives. Mostly gina-apply dyan natin sa activities natin or kung ano din dyan nga pwede makasilid sa lesson plan natin just to make sure na ma-reach natin ang objectives natin. And third is instructional method. So this is teachers use methods that can hit directly sa atin nga objectives or sa atin nga target. And lastly, assessment of outcomes. So muraga tugro ita ka assessment just to make sure na na-hit gid man bala natin ang atin nga objectives such as test, exam, or other standardized tools. So for example, so imagine, this is just an example. So imagine that we are teaching math class. So in a product model, let's put like our objectives is the student will solve 10 multiplication problems with 90% accuracy. So ano yung ka teacher? The teacher will give drills, practices, then matugro tanak ang assessment or exam. So if the student achieved the score of 90%, then we can say that our objective is already met. So let's discuss again let's discuss next is the process model. So ano ba lang process model? So process model is a curriculum or we're having a curriculum which is not a fixed plan but actual learning experience that might happen sa inside the classroom. Just like sa Lawrence Stenhouse man, no, na there might be changes nga matabo inside the classroom. So the main features of this process model, it focuses on experiences, teachers as facilitators and researchers, learners participation, and dapat flexible kita. So focus on experiences. So instead of just objectives, it values journey of learning. So mura gani dapat may experience gid ang students, may journey of learning gid para sadya sometimes para hindi nanda malipatan. Also teachers as facilitators and researchers. So teachers adapt, experiment, and guided learning. So mura gid tugro kita is ka mga experiment or we experiment our lessons, no, para mamanan natin kung tanan ba lang nga students naka-gets ka siya, tanan ba lang nga students naka-intindi ka siya. And next is learner participation. So dapat nag-contribute man ang ating students, hindi nga kitaan lang tanan. So student must active contributors to this lesson or to our lesson, not just a passive receivers nung pamati lang sanda. And lastly, dapat flexibility or flexible kita. Plans may change or our lesson plan might change depending on learners' need and our classroom situation. Is alam mo gani ra no labog or lahawid matapos ang activities, yawan kita kalagas ka oras ta, kag sometimes we tend to continue our lesson the next day rin lang. Because of that, we need to change our lesson plan sometimes or dapat ma-adjust kita. That's why we need to be flexible to those kinds of situation. So for example, in math class again, para dasig natin mag-gets. So instead of solving multiplication drills, the teacher might let students explore multiplication through games, projects, or even real-life problems. For example, no, if you're going to give example, like if you're going to buy 3 packs of biscuit with 8 pieces each, how much biscuit do you have? So sometimes amo ganito ginatugruan gid natin sometimes sanda ka mga real world or mga real gid nga mga things or mga real gid diyan nga mga gamit, so that dasig ang handa nga pag-perceive or pag-gets ka mga situations. So the outcome of this example is not fixed, but the process builds deeper understanding and problem-solving skills to students. So, naman ang main goal dapat natin nga maka-learn sanda, no? Or maka-learn sanda nga happy sanda or hindi nanda malipatan dayon. So, the key difference between product and process model. So, what is the difference of these two models? So in terms of the focus, the product model focus only on outcomes and objectives. Dapat ma-hit gid natin tayo ng outcomes or objectives natin. While the process model focus on the students or the learners' experiences and interaction inside the classroom. So what is the difference as the role of a teacher? So the product model, we are instructor only or the deliverer of the knowledge. While sa process model, we are facilitator and researcher na pwede natin ma-fix no ang atin nga mga lesson nga ma-fit ta na to all those kinds of students. So what are the learner's role? So the learner's role under the product model is they are passive receiver kapag mati lang kita na sanda, no? They tend to memorize rin lang, mati lang sanda, wala sanda ga-interact. So under the process model, they should be engaging or we should let them engage also. They can be active participants. Also, they are flexible dapat, no? Under the product model, fix and standardize, fix gid sundon gid natin lesson plan. While sa process model, dapat flexible atin lesson plan, maka-adapt into all situations. Also same as assessment, strength and limitation, as you can see in our screen. So in simple terms, the product model asks, what should students learn and did they achieve it? Focus ka lang kita na sa objectives mo. Nag-gets bala ka students? Ano ba lang nag-gain nanda? Na-hit mo ba lang objectives mo? And sa process model, what learning experiences are happening and how the students growing. kamusta bala tong students ko, ano bala tong experience nanda, ano bala tong natun-an nanda. So sometimes this process model no nagalasta na for the lifetime because may experience nanda nga pwede nanda ma-look up to. So to end this model or the discussion about these models, to conclude, the product model and the process model are important in understanding the curriculum because the process or the product model give us structure, accountability, and measurable outcomes, while the process model remind us that learning is more than just a test. It is all about discovery, creativity, and the experiences of the students are more important. In practice, many education system try to combine no gina-combine siya ganito natin nowadays na we hit specific objectives and we create our classes meaningful no or engaging tana. So that is the mix rin kang product and the process model. So ultimately, the choice between this model depends on what we believe education should achieve. So that is all about the models that we are representing no, or that we've discussed today. Now let's proceed sa theories. So under theories, we have 6 topics: the cognitive process theory, the humanistic curriculum, the social reconstructionism, behaviorist theory, academic rationalism, and constructivist theory. So for my topic, I'm going to discuss to you the cognitive process theory and the humanistic curriculum. So what is cognitive process theory? So after learning all about the models like product and process and the Stenhouse model and the other model that discussed by previous teacher, today we are going to move deeper on how learners actually think and learn. So our focus will be the cognitive process theory. So this theory that explains learning is a mental process. So ang learning kuno mental process. When say mental process, it's all about the brain, how the brain organize, interpret, and uses information. Not just learning is just memorization no or just a stimulus response. So dapat aram kita mag-organize, interpret, and use those information in today and in the future. So the cognitive process theory is one of the foundation of modern education. It tells us learning is not just about absorbing information like sponge nga mamati lang kita, absorb lang natin. Instead, learning is all about receive, process, store, and retrieve information kung needed rin natin. This theory help teachers understand what is going on inside the learner's brain. So sometimes ma-predict na natin, naman, nagid man bala, wala dyan ta naka-inchindi siguro. So how they perceive lesson, how they connect new knowledge to prior knowledge, and how they solve problems, how they transfer learning into real life situation. So sometimes mamanan man natin no kung ma-connect nanda bala ang past sa present, na-understand bala nanda ang past, that's why amurin ka dyang outcome sa present. Aram rin basta nanda mag-solve kang problems, or kaya rin bala nanda i-transfer ang learning na naman nanda inside the classroom sa real life situation. In short, it explains the thinking process behind learning. So what is the background of this theory? So the cognitive process theory developed in mid-20th century as the reaction to behaviorism. So behaviorism focus only on external actions, no, like mga stimulus and response natin, and gina-ignore na lang kung ano ang matabo and what happens inside our mind. So cognitive psychologists like Jean Piaget, Jerome Bernner, Robert Kane, and Benjamin Bloom argued that mental process cannot be ignored. They introduced theories show that learners actively construct meaning, use memory, and apply reasoning while learning. So this is a shift from behaviorism to cognition. Is often called the cognitive revolution in education. So ano ba lang mga key ideas sa cognitive process theory? So So the key ideas of cognitive process theory or the principles of cognitive process theory are follows. So there are 5 principles, no? First is learning is an active process, information processing, prior knowledge matters, higher order thinking skills, and metacognition. So let's discuss this one by one. So when we say active or learning is an active process, learners do not just receive knowledge, they construct it. Dapat kina-process man rin ananda. For example, when a student learn about history, kung mo bilang no, kung ma-learn sanda or we're going to teach them history, they don't just memorize dates. They connect events. Dapat aram sa na mag-connect ka events. Kung anong natabo before, that's why amo rin ang result na katya. Ano balara ang cause na? And they should form an understanding. So that is what the meaning, no, when we say learning is an active process. Next is information processing. So just like human mind or our mind works like a computer, the information must be taken, processed, and stored and retrieved. So there are stages in this information processing. We must encode by taking the information. We must store those information or keeping it in our memory. And there must be a retrieval of information, like bringing it back if we are needing it rin. So that is information processing. Next is prior knowledge matters. Learners build on what they already know. We add up rin lang sometimes sa mga learnings nanda. For example, you cannot learn algebra, no, kung mura mo pa na-learn to mga basic nga mga arithmetic sa math. Because hindi ako rakaintindi ka mga higher nga mga levels of learning if you don't understand kung ano to ang basic. So that is prior knowledge matters. Next is higher order thinking skills. Learning is not just about remembering. It involves analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and creativity. Just like Bloom's taxonomy, nag-based na sa principle. Next is metacognition. When you say metacognition, learners should be aware on how they think and learn. For example, as students plan how to study for a test, checking their own understanding and adjusting their methods. Amoragani, dapat mamanaan mo, no, kung paano ka bala, dasig ka bala mag-catch up or hindi. Ano bala mga ways para dasig mo mag-gets siya. So that is metacognition. You need to check on their own understanding, on their methods para ma-adjust mo, no, ang ways mo on how to teach them. Ma-adjust mo ang activities mo nga itugro mo kananda nga amod siya nga activities ang pwede nanda achieve dayon or mag-gain dayon or maka-understand dayon sanda. So how can we apply this sa ating curriculum and teaching? So cognitive process theory are very practical applications or has a very practical applications in teaching. First is curriculum designing, teaching strategies, assessment, and role of a teacher. So in curriculum designing, lesson should move from simple to complex. Amat-amat lang. Dapat step by step lang. Building on prior knowledge, anay. So mura anay, no, dapat ang easy lang anay. Paadto rin dito sa budlay or sa hard rin. Example, in science, let's start observing plants, then move to photosynthesis, and then to cellular respiration. Amat-amat lang dapat anay para mag-gets nanda or para ma-connect nanda, no? Next is teaching strategies. Encourage active learning, discussion, problem solving, case study, or concept mapping. Dapat may engagement, kisa, so that mamanaan natin dayon or ma-verify natin kung dasig bala mag-gets kang students siya, easy bala nanda ma-understand, or gets bala nanda. We can use scaffolding, like guiding teachers a step-by-step process until they can work independently. Also, we can give assessment, like tests should not only measure recall, no, but also applications, analysis, and critical thinking. Makatugro kita karian. Like for example, no, kuno natin ang students, instead of asking what is democracy, ask like how would you apply democratic principle to solve community problem? So, maano pa natin, ma-develop pa natin ang critical thinking nanda, maka-apply pa sanda sa mga real life situation sometimes. And as a role of a teacher or as teacher as facilitators of thinking, they guide students or our learners to make connection, reflect on their learning, and use strategies that strengthen memory and understanding. So to end the cognitive process theory, or the cognitive process theory, these transform education by showing that learner is not just about external behavior, but about what happens inside our mind. So it highlights the importance of our prior knowledge kung ano naman ang natin before. We need to process the information, and higher order thinking skills natin. So it gives us teacher the strategy to make learning meaningful, logical, and lasting. While there are some limitation, it remains one of the most influential theories in shaping modern curriculum and teaching practices. So thank you for listening for the cognitive process theory. So let us discuss for my last topic that I'm going to discuss, the humanistic curriculum theory or the humanistic curriculum. So today, we will look at the model that focuses not only on knowledge or skills, but on the whole person. This is known as humanistic curriculum. So the humanistic curriculum is built on the belief of education should not only develop the mind, but also nurture the emotion, the values, and the self-identity of our student or our learners. So unlike other models that we've discussed that concentrate only on measurable outcomes or objectives, the humanistic approach asks, how does learning help students grow as individuals? How does it prepare them to live meaningful or have fulfilling lives? Or how it develops not only their intellect, but also their character, creativity, and humanity. In short, this humanistic curriculum model is all about education of the head, the heart, and the hands. So let's have a short background of this humanistic curriculum model. So this curriculum approach rose during 1960s and 1970s, influenced by humanistic psychologists such as Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. So as we all know, Abraham Maslow, or the hierarchy of needs, showing the basic needs natin like food, safety, and others. So we must meet before the higher goals like creativity and self-actualization. Dapat ma-reach natin yung sa lower part before kita mag-proceed sa mga higher part. And also like Carl Rogers promote learner-centered education where students are active participants and teachers act as facilitators of growth. So the humanistic curriculum was the response to the orderly, rigid, and self-driven approach of traditional education. It sought to restore human values to teaching and learning. So malaman ang purpose na nga ibalik natin ang human values natin. So there are key principles of humanistic curriculum. First, learner-centered. Second, holistic development. Third, personal meaning and relevance. Fourth, self-actualization. Fifth, teacher as facilitator. And sixth, emphasize on freedom and choice. So first is learner-centered. When I say learner-centered, our curriculum must adapt to the needs, interests, and the experiences of these students. Dapat kung ano ang needed gid nanda, ano ang gusto nanda, ano ang ginapa-experience natin sometimes kung ano ways agani gatirinabo real life amura gina-explain or gina-example natin. So that is learner-centered. Next is holistic development. So education is not just intellectual growth but also an emotional, moral, physical, and social development dapat. Next is personal meaning and relevance. So dapat ang lesson natin must be connected sa real life experiences, making learning meaningful and applicable. So that is personal meaning and relevant. Dapat related tana sa mga gatirenabo. And also self-actualization. The ultimate goal is to help our learners or students to realize their full potential and become the best version of themselves. Dapat ma-realize nanda nga, amo gali ka siya, kaya ko man gali. So that is self-actualization. Next is teacher as facilitators. So the teacher is not just a dictator, nga kung ano sugo natin sundon lang, dictator of knowledge, but also we are the guide who support our students and encourage them to grow. And lastly, emphasize on learning or freedom and choice. So students are given opportunities to make decisions, explore interests, and they must take responsibility for their learning. Ang gani sometimes, not all learning natin ma-learn natin inside the classroom or ma-learn natin sa four corners of the room. Sometimes, we take responsibility those learning sometimes, or we can learn also sa atin nga environment. So we give students the opportunity to make decision, explore their interest kung di man sanda interesado, and they must take responsibility for their learning and for their actions. So those are the key principles of humanistic curriculum: learner-centered, holistic development, personal meaning and relevance, self-actualization, teachers as facilitators, emphasis on freedom and choice, and emphasis on freedom and choice. So application of this curriculum and teaching, how can we apply this humanistic curriculum in teaching? So first is curriculum content, teaching methods, assessment, and classroom environment. So in curriculum content, topics should be relevant to students' lives and experiences. Dapat sometimes makarelate sanda para dasig nanda magets. So it emphasizes to give values and education, life skills, and personal growth of our learners or students. Now let's proceed sa teaching methods. So what should our teaching method? So sometimes we need to use open discussion, role-playing, group work, project-based learning, journaling, and even reflection activities. So that maka-engage sanda. So encouraging creativity through art, music, drama, and self-expression. So sometimes sa ng teaching methods natin para ma-realize natin diin baladya karian ang suitable sa learning kang student natin. Next is assessment. So assessment focus on the growth, not just grades. So we use like portfolio, self-assessment, teachers' feedback instead of purely standardized nga mga test. And lastly, classroom environment. So, as a teacher, we must be supportive. We make sure nga safe dapat ang classroom natin. We have a caring atmosphere where students feel valued, respected, and motivated to learn. So, in conclusion, to end this model, so the humanistic curriculum is an approach that places the learner at the center of education. It aims not only to produce knowledgeable individuals or students, but also produce students who are compassionate, creative, and responsible human beings. So it reminds us that education is not only about preparing for work, but also it's all about preparing for life. By valuing the learner's experiences, emotion, and aspiration. So the humanistic curriculum seeks to develop well-rounded individuals who can live meaningful lives and contribute to the positivity to the society or sa atin nga environment. So thank you, no? So thank you everyone. I hope I thought my talk helped you to see the importance of humanistic curriculum, not only shaping our students to become a better student, but also shaping them as a better human beings. So thank you very much, everyone.